Like when you think of Richard Pryor, you think his movies, drugs, all his women, maybe some men. People at Epic Records were thrilled about keeping me on the label as a solo artist. They wanted me in the studio right away. That was fine with me because I wanted to get back in there and get busy again. I needed to have something to occupy my time. Right away, I started looking for new material for the album. I chose David Rubinson to produce my solo debut since we had really connected during the recording session for the last LaBelle album. Bud, that's their, I forgot. I think he's the musical director. Bud left New York and moved in with Armstead and me in Philly. That gave the three of us the chance to work on material for the new album every day. David brought in 50 possible songs, and while I only selected a few, I could tell by the feel of the material that I had chosen the right producer. Though I loved David's suggestions, none of them could ever match the song on that album that became the most special to me and to Chubby. It's one of Armstead's favorites too, and not just because he, Bud, and I wrote it standing in my kitchen one night. What makes it so special to Armstead is the song's inspiration. Zuri. Man, that song, You Are My Friend, touches me so deeply. And now that I understand the message behind it, it means even more. During the months that we were drinking heavily and hanging out at the round table, Armstead was also smoking reefer. One night, after too much booze and too much smoke, he lay sick and out of it on the couch. Zuri was only a toddler, but he knew something was wrong with his dad. And so he tried to comfort him. "It's okay, Daddy. You my friend," he said over and over as he gently patted his father's head. Zuri was repeating what his father had been telling him from the time he was a baby. "You are my best friend." After we released the album called simply Patti LaBelle, Epic was eager for me to go out on the road to promote it. They wanted to kick off this promotional tour at their upcoming international convention in London. The night of the performance, I had a panic attack. The show was at London's exclusive Grosvenor House Hotel, and a few minutes before showtime, I was in the bathroom throwing up. Even though she knows her relationship with the girls, LaBelle, is over, she still wants them there. She still feels her most comfortable with them there. She said when she got out on that stage and looked to her left and her right and her girls weren't there, she felt so alone. But she knew she had to get it done. This is my life now. By the time I did my encore, Armstead and Zuri's song, You Are My Friend, I knew everything was going to be all right. I had made peace with myself. Now it was time for me to make peace with my family. I was home for dinner every night, spending quality time with my babies, Armstead and Zuri. Sometimes I even took Zuri to rehearsals with me, and I could go to functions with Armstead, events that were important to him, events that I had always missed before. Reconnecting with my family produced another benefit for me, a most amazing and unexpected one. I began to love performing even more because I was no longer torn. Lulu, why my baby always got... Anyway, so remember when I spoke earlier about the difference between Patti LaBelle and Diana Ross? Diana Ross was just Diana Ross. She's not making sacrifices for her family and her group. She was solo. I'm going to do this. I don't have to report to Mary and Cindy or Flo any goddamn more. Now I am just Diana Ross. Now that Patti LaBelle is just Patti LaBelle, that does not have to consider Sarah and Nona's feelings any longer. She can cater to her family. She can bring them along now. And I know you like, well, Nay, she could have did that anyway. No, you can't, because you don't want to hear that yippity yappity from other people. Well, why her kids always there? And when Armstead comes, she always looks so sad or worn out because he be throwing her up against the wall, doing that and to her right before the show. But now it's just Patti LaBelle, free to do what Patti LaBelle wants to do. And right now, she wants to be a mama and a performer. And it's very possible for Patti LaBelle to do that. Patti LaBelle couldn't do that with LaBelle. Y'all, Lulu is in the background snoring. Please forgive me. Shortly after I went solo, our little household began to expand. We hadn't planned to have any more children, but we hadn't planned to have Zuri either. I think I remember hearing about this before, where she talked about how she brung 2 teenagers into her household when Zuri was a teenager, because Zuri and the 2 boys that lived across the street lost their mother. They had family, but Patti LaBelle was like, hey, you know, you're like family. Do you want to come live with us? She didn't mean to step on the family's toes. They probably was looking at it like, well, wait a minute, this is Patti LaBelle. I would be a damn fool. If the kids want to do it, then let them do it. They be over there every day anyway. Y'all, I don't know how many times my mother let my girlfriends live with us. There was still a lot of obstacles in getting my solo career off the ground. James Brown may have had the curtain closed on the Bluebells, but at least I had a chance to get on the stage. After my London solo debut, I got a few bookings around the country, but not nearly as many as I had hoped for. When I found out what the problem was, I don't know if I was more hurt or shocked. It seemed nobody wanted me for an opening act because the feeling inside the music business was that my high energy concerts were a hard act to follow. Too much intensity, too much power, too many standing ovations. Things got really tough after the reviews came out when I opened for Al Green at New York's famous Radio City Music Hall. The critics raved about my performances, but they were less than kind to Al. We don't always know God's plan, and unfortunately, my problem turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Chubby's diabetes had gotten worse, and since I was rarely out on the road, I was able to spend time with her. I thank God for those days with Chubby, especially since I regretted that I hadn't been able to take time with Vivian, and there wouldn't be much more time left. My manager, Murray Schwartz, was close to Richard Pryor's manager, and in the summer of 1978, when Richard decided to go out on a 4-month national tour, Murray suggested that I open for him. Richard, God bless him, agreed. And believe me, he didn't have to. In the 70s, Richard Pryor was already a living legend. As I learned on the tour, he is as kind and generous as he is funny. He used to give me gifts all the time, and I mean expensive ones. Damn, I wonder what that's like when you just wake up and be like, girl, come on. We about to go down to the Cadillac dealer. Here go a damn Cadillac for you. Remember when Sammy Davis Jr. bought Tina Turner a Jaguar? I learned that Chubby had suffered a stroke that left her unable to speak. Even worse. So we know that her mother is struggling with diabetes. Patti LaBelle took a break from the tour to go home and sit with her mother. When I got home, I learned that Chubby had suffered a stroke that left her unable to speak. Even worse, the diabetes had stopped the circulation in her legs. The doctors said amputation was the only way to save her. As horrifying as that was, there was no other choice. Chubby had to lose her legs so she wouldn't lose her life. And we weren't ready to lose her. The whole time I was home, Richard kept sending Chubby those flowers every day, like clockwork. While she couldn't speak, she was still alert, aware of the care we were giving and the kindness Richard was showing. Damn, Richard Pryor. You know, it's like when you think of Richard Pryor, you think his movies, drugs, all his women, maybe some men crawling around there, but you never think of the kindness to people. And I applaud Patti LaBelle for putting this in her book. When I rejoined the tour, I found that Richard had the biggest surprise of all still up his sleeve. Child, it was that Cadillac. God sent me an angel to tell me my mother died. I guess he knew that was the only way I could take it. I know I do. I can feel when somebody I love has moved on or passed on. I don't know how, I don't know why. But what Patti LaBelle said was that she called the hospital and was like, hey, yeah, my mom dead, ain't she? And the nurse was like, Miss LaBelle, we can't give you that information. And she said, well, you better put somebody on the phone that can give me that information. Shortly after, the doctor got on the phone and said, Miss LaBelle, we need you at the hospital immediately. They needed her there to tell her that her mama had passed. I don't remember much about the 5 days my sister and I spent planning Chubby's funeral. I know I didn't eat or sleep, and most of the time I wandered around in a daze. Child, when you lose your mother. The day after I buried my mother, I went back on the road with Richard. Armstead thought I should take some time off, but I told him I needed to work. I needed to keep busy. I needed to sing. I release everything I'm feeling through my songs. There was so much to let out, so much sorrow to let go. And it would continue. Not long after we lost Chubby, my best friend Claudette told me the shocking news. She had breast cancer. I didn't think that Patti LaBelle's book would be as inspiring as it has been for me. But man, when I tell you the only person that I think has experienced as much death as I have had to be Patti LaBelle. And then still to be alive and kicking, man, I applaud that lady. Seemed we had barely gotten past Claudette's scare when Barbara started feeling weak and sickly. She told me she had some kind of bug, but if she didn't feel any better soon, she was going to see a doctor. I didn't think any more about it, and life went on as usual. It was during this period that I recorded my last 2 albums for Epic. It's All Right With Me and the Alan Toussaint produced LP released. As the 70s were coming to a close, I had gone back to his New Orleans studio, hoping he could recreate the magic he had worked for LaBelle. While I had 8 chart singles between 1977 and 1980, none of them made the top 20. My biggest single during those 3 years, the Toussaint produced I Don't Go Shopping, peaked at number 26. I can surmise a big part of the problem in 2 words: disco fever.
I said right on the south side, made a left on MLK. What a a beautiful day, taking a ride.